Hello, I am Senator Mack, and I believe that the Genetically Modified Food Act of 2016 should be passed. In at least 30 states, legislation regarding the labeling of genetically modified foods have been introduced or have actually had requirements passed. The debate on whether or not to label these products and produce has continued for years until the present day. While some are fighting for the labeling of GM products in order to inform the public of their food source, others are insisting that labeling brings more negative consequences than good. However, there are quite a lot of advantages to labeling that would benefit the general welfare of the people and not corporations that are focused on making a profit. The general public usually does not have a decent knowledge about their food source and the produce that they are bringing home to their families. Unsuspecting consumers by the tens of millions are purchasing and consuming unlabeled genetically engineered foods even though the U.S. Food and Drug Administration has not done any independent testing of the safety of those products without any influence from big corporations. Without food labeling, the public is not informed of the potential risk of consuming genetically engineered produce and food products, or even how they are generated in the first place. People should be provided information about the process behind the creation of genetically modified foods. These engineered products are made by forcing a specific piece of DNA from different species, usually bacteria or viruses, into the DNA of a plant or animal to give it certain qualities. However, the effects of this are unknown and have not been exposed to the public. Because of this mixing of genes of drastically different species, genetic engineering can produce unprecedented side effects such as new toxins, allergens, lower nutritional levels, and more. Despite propaganda reassuring the public that genetically modified organisms are completely safe according to corporate-funded research, other studies insist that there may be more to the side effects of GM products on human health than presented. Labeling GM foods will properly inform the consumers that there are potential risks so that they may make informed choices. The reason why companies selling genetically engineered food are against GMO labeling has a lot to do with the fear that their products will gain a negative association and that they will lose customers that bring in the profit. The economic aspect that is highly controlled by major corporations in the food industry affects labeling legislation regardless of the wants of the people and their safety concerns. The Safe and Accurate Food Labeling Act that states that labeling of GMO foods is voluntary is a sign of lobbying by powerful industries that are afraid of hurting their business. Most of the outright opposition to labeling comes from these corporations that exert influence on national legislation and are only focused on developing business instead of benefiting the United States population as a whole. The current government oversight is not enough to effectively regulate nutrition labels and their uses. Currently, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration does not require any safety studies of GMOs or regulatory mandates that supervise the selling of genetically modified foods in markets. Influential companies have taken positions in government in order to persuade governmental legislation to their side. This also means that the government isn't regulating labeling violations and thus isn't informing the public properly. Consumers should be able to make decisions based on information given, not information hidden. Like nutrition labels that indicate fat and sodium content as well as allergens, buyers should be able to find out if the product contains a GMO ingredient. The campaign for nutrition labels is a very similar situation to the struggle for GMO labeling, and yet people have benefited from nutrition labels. Including a few more words on the already existing label will only promote the general welfare of the public, which is what the government should support. Genetically modified food products and produce should be required to be labeled as standard protocol in the food and agricultural industry for the betterment of the consumers that contribute to the food economy. This is why the Genetically Modified Food Act of 2016 should be passed. Thank you.